So a week or two ago, Adam Sandler said that if he didn't get an Oscar for this performance, that he would make the worst movie of all time. Well, I think we should get ready for the worst movie of all time.
Well, that was a movie.
Hello and welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my first thoughts on Uncut Gems. Stop looking at my eyes. Stop looking. Okay, fine. Look. Yeah, I know they're messed up. All right, we're done. We're done looking at them. Moving on. So in case you don't know, Uncut Gems is the new Safdie brothers film starring Adam Sandler about a jeweler in New York City who is constantly getting himself in trouble by putting money in the wrong places. He should be paying off loans that he owes, but instead he's putting it on bets and getting himself in more and more trouble as the movie goes on. And I don't mean by that intro to try to say that this movie is horrible. It's not. It's also not Oscar worthy in any way. This movie is the definition of fine. It was fine. And I think the main problem I had with this movie was I just didn't really care about anybody in this movie or anything. None of the characters in this movie are remotely likable, and this movie lacks any kind of realism or believability to it. There's this meme that's been going around a little while where this guy said that he counts it as a plot hole when in an Adam Sandler film he's dating a hot woman. Well, in this movie, he's unhappily married to a hot woman, so he's cheating on her with an even hotter girl. And she's just helplessly in love with him and would do anything for him and is desperate for all of his love and affection. And I'm just... Am I even less attractive than Adam Sandler, or what's going on? This movie also revolves around Kevin Garnett, and he is a basketball player, not an actor. He's not bad, he's fine. And most of the acting in this movie is fine. Adam Sandler, this is one of his better performances. I don't dislike Adam Sandler as a serious actor. I just also don't find him to be great or amazing anyway. And throughout this movie, I thought his performance was fine. I never once was like, he's horrible at this. Why did they cast him? I just the whole time went, he's fine. And that's how most of the acting in this movie is too. This movie rarely teeters into the bad territory. It just rarely, if ever at all, goes into the, this is really good territory either. And that's really caused me to think, am I missing something here? So I had to go online and I checked IMDb reviews, and there's been an influx of these people saying, I don't know what anybody's talking about. This movie's not good. So I think this must have been just one of those art house films that everybody's riding the bandwagon for, but then once it gets out there, people see it and go, it's not that good. And I am a huge proponent of indie films. Indie films are way better than the mainstream movies most of the time. That's not always the case, but generally speaking, especially lately, the indie films are better than the mainstream ones. But just because it's an indie film doesn't mean it's good, and this is that, and that's been proven time and time again this year. This year has been characterized by overhyping indie films. I love indie films as much as the next guy, but not all of them are great. I'm sorry. So aside from the whole weird hot girl here, hot girl there thing, this movie, like I said, is full of completely unlikable characters. Adam Sandler's character is completely unlikable because he's unfaithful, he's a jerk, he's loud and obnoxious. He spends the majority of the movie unbelievably shouting. Who would have thought Adam Sandler would do that in a movie? And then his wife is completely unlikable. The girl he's cheating on his wife with is just an idiot and completely unlikable. His colleague, who's played by Lakeith Stanfield, is also completely unlikable. Garnett is, fine. He's Garnett. I don't care. And then, like I said, he gets in trouble with people. He gets in trouble with, I guess, the Jewish mob or something. It's a very Jewish movie. And these mobsters have to be the least intimidating mobsters I've ever seen in a movie. I was not intimidated by them at all at any point. There was no gunfights. There was no intimidation. There was just occasionally they would smack them around. And it's who are these guys? Are they the mob? Or are they just some guys? They're just some angry Jews who want their money. And then The Weeknd's in it. And that's all I can really say about his performance in this movie. He's in the movie for 2 scenes. That's good. They play some music that hadn't been released yet in this movie. This movie takes place in 2012, by the way, because it has to do with sporting events that happened around that time. And they're playing modern music in it. Minor complaint, but that was only 7 years ago. It's not that hard to pull up some songs from 7 years ago. I don't know. Like, they're in a club dancing to music that had not been written yet. Okay, why? And also, just why was The Weeknd literally had nothing to do with this plot, was in it for 2 seconds, and then was gone. I can talk about him more in spoilers, but I won't have much to say. There's really not much going on here. I don't know. Yeah, this movie was just fine in every way. It started to pick up a little bit near the end. I actually started to get interested and invested a little near the end of this movie, but by then it was too little too late, and I was already kind of checked out. This movie was 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I probably enjoyed about 20 minutes of the movie. And that goes for, I think, most of the people in the theater too. I didn't go with anybody, so I don't know, but I heard literal snoring behind me, so somebody wasn't satisfied with it. I said that the acting in this movie is fine, and that's true for the most part. But there was also a scene where there's supposed to be an emotional moment between Adam Sandler and his girlfriend. I keep saying that. I don't know who plays her. Julia Fox. And I don't mean to say anything bad about her. She's a very, very beautiful woman. I'm sure she's a wonderful woman. And for the most part, she was fine in this movie. But, like, Adam Sandler's crying, and I'm already not buying it. And then she starts crying like, I'm upset too. And I laughed, I'm sorry, and it started a chain reaction with the people behind me, and I didn't mean to do it. Like I said, for the most part, this movie wasn't like, it was nowhere near so bad it's good. It was nowhere near that. It wasn't even bad. This movie wasn't bad. It just was fine. But that moment, I couldn't help laugh. I couldn't stop myself. So, yeah, this movie is like a 6, maybe a little bit better. Maybe it's partially just that my expectations were way too high, and if I go back, I can enjoy it a little bit more, and I could maybe get it up to a 7, but I really doubt it. Like, there's nothing about this movie that interested me. It's not like it was remotely original. It was about sports betting and getting involved with dangerous people because of bad money. And then a magic rock, which we can get into that in spoilers, but I don't know. I really am starting to question, like, what's going on with the film industry when movies like this keep coming out, these indie films, and everybody's jumping on it, like, oh, it's so good. And then I go and see it, I'm like, am I missing something? Did I miss something here? Like, this is fine. It's absolutely in every way positively fine. But it's like, film of the year, Adam Sandler, Oscar buzz. Oh, it's like people are so desperate for Adam Sandler to get that Oscar for whatever reason. And I mean, I get it. He's a great guy. A lot of people grew up with his movies. A lot of people love this guy. I never grew up with his movies. I don't find his comedy funny, but he seems like a great guy. He really does. The way that he picks his movies and keeps his friends with them and makes sure that they all get paid and taken care of, that's awesome. Like, if I was a celebrity, I'd do the same thing if I could. I wish I could. That's awesome. But I don't think he's an Oscar-worthy actor. I think he's a fine actor. And if you like his comedy, awesome. I found him funny every once in a while, but he's, not my thing. But you know what? I still find myself quoting some of his jokes every once in a while. But, like, just because you love the guy, and because you grew up with his movies, and because he's a decent actor, that doesn't mean, like, we should start some Oscar buzz for him. And I feel like everybody in this industry right now, and people and fan bases, they just want him to succeed so much that they create fake buzz. And it's not just him. It was this movie, and it was a couple other movies too. It's the recent narrative with Robert Pattinson too. Everybody wants Robert Pattinson to succeed. Everybody's already saying this Batman movie is going to be good before it even came out, and everybody said Lighthouse was amazing before that came out. And it's like, calm down. I get it. We love this redemption arc. Everybody has been making fun of Adam Sandler and Robert Pattinson for so long. I guess now people want them to be loved. It was the same thing with Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, everybody made fun of him for years, and then it came out that he's a really nice guy. He's an awesome guy. So now everybody overlooks the fact that he can't act to save his life, and we've been praising him nonstop, and cool. Good for him. He's a great guy. He deserves it. The John Wick movies have some entertainment value to them, But it's like, just because... That's just a tangent, and I'm sorry. But, like, I don't understand what's going on. That's the only explanation I can come up with right now is, like, I am genuinely missing something. Or it's that. Because these movies do not deserve the buzz they're getting. And it's not like they're big industry films. Like, they were both Art House 24, I believe. I don't know. Yeah, this movie was just fine. And I can't find a better adjective for it. Because I wasn't really bored. I was a little bored. I wasn't very bored. Like, I was never close to walking out of the theater at any point. And I wasn't laughing at how bad it was for the most part. But I also didn't care about anything that was happening until like the last half hour. And I wasn't interested in any of the characters because they were all so unlikable. And there was no like amazing plot twist that happened. There was no creative writing or dialogue. The acting wasn't spectacular. There was nothing about this movie that made me go, hey, I need to tell somebody else to go watch this movie right away. Or I want to come back and buy another ticket. I literally walked out of the theater and texted my friend and said, oh, by the way, Uncut Gems, yeah, you don't need to pay to see that. Like, I'm not telling him, hey, don't ever watch that. Oh, stay away. But you know what? You don't have to spend money to see it. Wait for it to come out on demand. I don't know. That's like... I'm sorry. And I haven't watched anybody else's reviews yet because I always try to avoid those before I see it. So I don't know if I'm alone in this or not. Right now it feels like I kind of am, other than the IMDb reviews I checked out. And it was the majority of the recent ones. So it seems like the negative reviews are starting to come in now that it's been released to the public. So I think this rating's going to keep dropping. It's an 8.1 right now. I think that will go down because there's nothing that memorable or great or special about this movie at all. And I'm not saying it's gonna tank down to a 5. It might not even get down in the 6s, but it's not gonna stay at an 8. That can't. It really can't. I can't imagine that it would. So it'll probably be somewhere around the mid 7s because it's got a strong enough fan base for whatever reason. Like I said, the sentimentality involved with Adam Sandler, the fan base that's already there, and the people who want to appear artsy and so like every indie film just because it's an indie film. So it will maintain a pretty strong fan base, but I can't imagine this winning any award. I can't imagine that. Like, what would it win? Even if it got nominated, I couldn't predict to you what it would get nominated for. I can't pick a category that this movie deserves to be nominated for an Oscar. So if it got nominated for something, I couldn't predict to you right now what it would be. Like, I mean, I guess Best Actor because that's what people are promoting about this movie, but he definitely doesn't deserve it. I've seen him act better than this in other movies. But yeah, so that's what I had to think. Spoiler free. I'm going to get into spoilers now. So if for whatever reason you don't want anything spoiled, you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and click away now. But please like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. I do appreciate it. It helps a lot. Thanks, guys. Bye. So spoilers. Yeah, so he dies at the end. And I wasn't expecting that, I'll admit. But the reaction that I got, I'll act it out for you, was, oh, okay. That's it. I wasn't like shocked. I wasn't like, oh no. I didn't care. Because it's like, they didn't build up to that at all. Like I said, throughout this entire movie, these mobsters are completely the opposite of intimidating. They smack him around a couple times, they steal his clothes, but like, I never once was afraid of these characters. They don't even hold a gun until the last like half hour of this movie, and then you're like, oh, you got a gun that doesn't have bullets in it. I can see it because of the revolver. There's no bullets in it. That's funny. And then he shoots him and then his boss. I think that was his boss. Maybe not. I don't know. I thought it was. This movie made no sense, and I couldn't follow most of it. It didn't make sense where the money was going with this. Like, none of the money stuff made sense for the most part. First of all, you don't know why he owes them money, and then he gets the money, but he doesn't give it to them. He puts it on a bet, but then they stop the bet from happening because I guess they know the bookie personally, so they can stop that and take the money. And it just was convoluted. The script was very confusing and just very jam-packed with a lot of talking and saying nothing. And a lot of people shouting, and a lot of people talking over each other. But getting back to him dying, because that's what I was trying to talk about. Nothing built up to that moment. There was no suspense at all. And so I guess it was supposed to be like a happy feeling to a shocked feeling real quick, but I wasn't that excited because as a proud Philadelphia sports fan, I knew I knew how that game was going to end. So I'm like, yeah, okay, here we go. And then he lets them out, and it's kind of like a little funny moment here or there. And then he shoots him, and you're like, why? Why? So it's like, I get it. He locked them in this little foyer, I guess, thing, and he's had them there for the entirety of the game. So I get it. They're pissed. They're annoyed. But it's literally just being stupid because he got them the money. He got them the money. And yes, he was an idiot. He shouldn't have bet the money, but he was lucky. The bet won, so now he can give them the money. They're not getting the money now because they killed him. Not getting the money now. So, yeah, the writing is just not good. Like, I bring up his wife, him cheating on his wife. Completely pointless subplot. The whole family dynamic didn't need to be in this movie at all because it didn't go anywhere. At a certain point, he goes to break up with the girl because he catches her cheating on him kind of with the weekend. She's kind of flirting with him just to get an in with him, but still it's cheating because she didn't tell him anyway, whatever. He decides to break up with her, and then he goes back to his wife, who he's cheating on, so double standard, and then she doesn't want him back. So then that ends, and then he ends up getting back together with the unfaithful girl that he's cheating on his wife with, who's hotter anyway, who desperately needs him because, oh my god, I can't live without Adam Sandler. So I just, I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces that didn't seem to be connected to any other cogs. A really good movie plot fits together like a watch, where all the cogs all connect, and you might not see it in the moment or understand how everything connects, but when you get back to it at the end, it all circles around and you see all the pieces moving in unison to make the face of the watch move and tell time. This movie had a lot of spinning pieces and none of them seemed to be connected to anything, and at the end of the movie, yeah, you just had a bunch of spinning cogs that weren't connected to anything and didn't add up, and I didn't get any sort of satisfaction out of this movie. I wasn't fulfilled in any way. I wasn't entertained really even. The only part that genuinely entertained me was when he had that huge bet down at the end on Game 7 of the Sixers Celtics because it was filmed and edited well. You saw him hype. You saw him interested. You saw the girl being kind of chased by some sketchy guys from the Jew mob. And you kind of got a little bit interested. Because there was a lot riding on this game, and as much as I know Philly sports history, I don't know it that well. So he's got a parlay where it's like, all right, Garnett has to, win the tip-off, then he has to get this many points, he has to get this many rebounds, he has to get a triple-double or something, and then the Celtics have to win the game. So he gets all of them pretty quick except for the win, because you need to win the game. And so it's like, after you get the first few, you're like, oh, okay, so all right, just wait for the game to end because I know the Celtics are going to win. And even if I didn't know that, I feel like it's pretty obvious that it's going to happen. And there's just no tension by the end of the game because it drags on too long. Where it's like there was a little bit of tension, a little bit of excitement, but it wore off pretty quick. If there was any novelty involved with this movie, it wore off quick too. The movie altogether just wasn't interesting to me. It's like it's sort of this mobster gangster movie, while meanwhile it's supposed to be a redemption story about this guy, but then that kind of falls apart because he doesn't redeem himself, because I guess it's too late. I guess that was the point, was that it's like a Wolf of Wall Street kind of thing, where it's like he's past redemption, so he's just a bad guy, so it's a warning story, don't be like this. I guess. And then it's also at the same time a story about Kevin Garnett and his magic rock that helps him win basketball games. Hey, I didn't know I was watching Like Mike. And I get it. I'm sure that the filmmakers intended for it's supposed to be like self-imposed magic where he believes it so it happens and so he does better. And I get that, but it just seemed like such a weird angle and subplot, and then the whole thing with the coworkers that all are jerks to him for no reason and all leave. It's just like they all think they're so special and they're all morons, and I just didn't like anybody in this movie. And then it's all culminated by the greatest moment of the movie, where we've got the post-game interview of Game 7 with Kevin Garnett, and I think this was actually real interview footage. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if it was fake. They did a good job of hiding it. But you've got him being interviewed and he's like, all night long, it was just me and The Rock. It's like... So you made this movie for a pun. Somebody saw an interview with a basketball player talking about how he had The Rock. And somebody went, what if we wrote about a basketball player who had a rock? That's how this script started. I guarantee it. And God, that's... Oh, or better yet, they had a script going and somebody at the board meeting went, hey, you know how basketball players have rocks? Give them a rock. So, no, this movie is not, should not, cannot, will not win an award for anything. It's not a good movie. It's not a bad movie. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And that's all I have to say about that. Thanks, guys. Bye.